Hey everybody, how's it going? The Hat Person here for Good Game Have Fun, and here's my review of Abzu for PS4. So the short version goes like this. I think this is a really beautiful game that I highly recommend you play. Unfortunately, the only bad thing that I can say about this game is that everything that you see in Abzu has already been done before in Journey, and doesn't really do enough to set itself apart. Now, don't misinterpret. I think the game is really great, but it is very, very difficult for people to not get super reductive about the game. It'd be like, oh, it's just Journey underwater, because that's exactly what Abzu is, unfortunately. Still really great, but too similar to the other game. And now the long version of the review goes like this. And I never thought I would ever open a video game review with this question, but have you guys ever read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? So in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you have like a normal timeline with, the generation of Joestars, but then from part 7 onward, it takes place in an alternate universe. And so you see like the equivalent or like the counterparts of all of the other characters, right? Like, alternate universe Jonathan, alternate universe Dio, and all of these characters that are kind of sort of the same as the other timeline, but not really, kind of like that. To me, Abzu is like alternate universe Journey, like JoJolian Journey. So yeah, it's a really strange comparison, but this is what I think about when I play Abzu, because it is basically an alternate universe version of Journey, with a little bit of flour sprinkled around it. There's probably another alternate universe out there that has played Abzu first and Journey second, and therefore liking Abzu better, but it's the other way around in this universe, I'm afraid. Abzu is a game created by Giant Squid and published by 505 Games. The creative director was the art director for Journey, and both games have a soundtrack made by the great Austin Wintory. The art style, music, and silent, visually abstract way that the story is told is also very similar between both games, so comparisons are inevitable. You could easily fool me and say that both games take place in the same universe. Of course, all of these comparisons are a massive compliment to Abzu, but it would have been great if the game had done more to distinguish itself from its predecessor. When first loading up the game, you start to move around without much getting in the way, aside from telling you the basic controls at the start. The game lets you roam free and explore all you want. In terms of gameplay, it's just moving around and interacting with a few things through a very, again, Journey-esque chirp button, where you just press it, you see a little icon there, you can communicate with stuff. There's no fighting or fast action scenes of any kind though, so expect one of the most chilled out experiences out there. Yes, even more chilled out than Journey. Any kind of opposition or antagonist is found very close to the end of this 1 to 2 hour experience, and even then it's pretty easy to avoid. There's certainly no risk of death to be found here at all, unless you are deliberately going out of your way to look for it. After going through the motions and having your jaw drop over the visual elements, the game is over before you know it. Just like in Journey, you follow the same story beats like a fast-moving segment, observing drawings on walls, and defeating some vague opposing force of an evil-looking color. After beating the game, you can jump to specific chapters and explore all you want, but there really isn't much there after going through it the first time. I mean, sure, you got the typical trophies for milestones or finding hidden items and all that kind of stuff, but after beating the game once, there really isn't anything propelling me to do so. Actually, funnily enough, one of the things that I would have liked to see Abzu borrow from Journey was the online elements that you don't really see here at all. In Journey, you could be randomly placed with another player, recontextualizing the solitary adventure into one that you share with another. One of the biggest reasons for why people love Journey so much was due to this feature. Abzu unfortunately doesn't have that, which I think could have benefited the game greatly. The one thing that I would have liked to see get carried over is not here, which can be pretty upsetting for some people. This is certainly not a game for speedrunners. It is very clear that the biggest amount of enjoyment one can get is from exploring the ocean and taking in all the sights. Taking your time and seeing the beautiful animation flow while immersing yourself in the color and sound of the world you're in is arguably the right way to play. And I put that in really heavy air quotes, right way to play. There are even meditation spots where you can simply observe fish and possibly use it as a cool thing to leave in the background during a fancy party or something. I think it is an understatement to say that the visuals are incredible, almost reminding me of a Discovery Channel documentary or the show Planet Earth. The music is no joke either, though nowhere near as good as Journey's, but still pretty damn compelling. Now, I'm constantly comparing the game to Journey, but I actually found a lot of similarities to Flower as well. If you guys notice all of the fish following you as you swim around, that really reminds me a lot of Flower, when you're flying around in the air with all of the flower petals chasing you. They kind of just changed the flower petals for fish, but it looks just as good. Even the ending of the game is very reminiscent of Flower as well, and as soon as you think about the ending to Flower, you'll kind of know what I mean. which is fine as well. There's really nothing inherently wrong with that, but, you know, it goes through the same consequences as Journey, where, you know, Abzu is a really good game, but that is yet another game that it will inevitably be constantly compared to. At the end of the day, if you've played Journey, or even if you've played Flower, there really isn't much for me to say about Abzu. Everything is essentially the same, from the visuals, to the music, to even the story. It just takes place in a different location. If you enjoyed your solitary and emotional adventure through the desert, then you're probably gonna like the ocean diving equivalent of that. Abzu is a really good game, but it doesn't do enough that's new to be able to escape the shadow of its older half-brothers.